I just got my budget package. I can't believe the amount of money that's on that fire safety line. All we hear all day is alarms going off, and don't get me started on false alarms. I can't work from home because of all the noise. Can't we just reduce the budget line and get on with our life? To the general population of a condo or a strata, these alarms and all this money can seem like a nuisance, right? Wrong. Here to help us today to navigate through all of those things that are all fire, life safety, is perhaps one of the country's best consultants. We're really pleased to have her here today. Michele Farley, welcome. And you're with FCS. You're the president of the company, Fire Consulting Services. So let's jump right into it. Like, why all this big fuss over the alarm system? It was installed by professionals, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Absolutely. Installed by professionals, designed by professionals, tested and maintained by professionals. But it's a pretty complex system. And with everything else, you then add people. So you have nuisance alarms, you add water and things that don't quite work properly in between different times where the system's tested. But ideally, you want to maintain that system, you want to keep it working, and it should work properly. And if it's not, you need to look into it and find out why.
This is not one of those things you just automatically reduce on the budget line.
Absolutely not. In fact, you should probably increase it a little bit just to look for when there is a problem. You may want to have it investigated by an independent party to find out what can be done to prevent nuisance alarms, but also to make it a cleaner system that works properly.
All right. We are talking about life safety. Michele, I know that you consult for a variety of condos and structures in commercial, industrial, et cetera. With your experience across all of those types of condos and buildings, what would you say are the 5 most common violations that you see?
Wow. 5 top, probably fire doors and door closers, which can be the latch, the closer, the hinges, probably test records and records not properly being maintained, fire alarm results not being on site when the fire department comes, and also those repairs not being done quickly, swiftly. Get them done as soon as possible. In fact, you could even put a small budget aside for little things that can be done right away. And then you can triage the bigger items that might need more money. Fire safety plans are a big one, and training, making sure your staff know what to do, how to maintain things and do it properly.
You know, Michele, and our viewers might not know this, but you've been mentoring me for nearly 20 years on fire life safety. Mm-hmm. And so it's become a passion of mine as well. But it seems, to the layperson, it seems pretty simple. You named the 5 top ones. So with only 5 things to monitor, condominium and strata communities should be the safest place to live, right?
Wrong. It's the things you don't see. It's whether the smoke alarms in the units or in the industrial unit are properly installed or that they're being maintained regularly. It's that doors open and close and latch properly. And all those things you don't see, like the sprinkler system and pressurization fans, all those things that have to work together in a fire emergency.
All the things that residents don't see.
No.
Yeah. Now, I know that fire code will vary slightly province to province, but is a lot of it's based on the national fire code. Is it really that different from province to province?
It's not that different from province to province. We work on a same general code. There's also a harmonization committee that's been working feverishly the last couple of years so that they look a little bit closer together. But several of the provinces and territories work from the national, but the provincials may be provincial centric. You might have more frost in certain regions. You might have more seismic activity in certain regions. And fire codes come from real incidents, real investigations. And where certain provinces or territories have specific rising fires and incidents on certain types of things, then that code can be amended to make sure they're taking care of that in that particular province or territory.
Yeah, you'd think it would be the same all across, but I'm thinking about the far north and forest fires and things like this. There's all kinds of different life safety issues there.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about life safety, and if I'm hearing you correctly, the cost of compliance pales against the cost of a loss of life. Now, while we have a national expert here today, can you give us some closing comments, maybe talking about setting the record straight and what condos and strata directors should be doing?
Absolutely. The fire code is fairly complex when it applies to a building because it's not just fire alarms and sprinkler systems, which we always thought our fire alarm technicians are taking care of, and they are. But it also includes fire separations, when people drill holes, or doors, closers, and latches. It includes education and training. If everybody in your building knows when your monthly tests are done, when your annual tests are done, then they're not so disturbed by the alarms. So communication, making sure people know what's going on. But if you look at a fire like the one last 2 Januaries ago, 2022 in New York, it was a high-rise building and the door to the suite failed. So smoke came out in the hallway and then the door to the stairwells failed. That's a cheap fix. It's relatively easy to do. So if you train your staff on how to do it and you annually check to make sure it's all being done and recorded properly, you're ready for a fire inspection, you're in compliance, but more importantly, you're absolutely ready for that fire. And in that particular fire in New York, dozens of people were homeless and close to 20 were there was fatalities. And we want to learn from that. A simple door closer isn't a simple door closer. It's a life-saving device and something that prevents smoke from spreading from one area of the building to another.
You once said something to me that it's very rarely the fire that kills anybody, it's the smoke.
The majority of the time, it's the smoke that killed people. In that particular fire I'm talking about, it was almost all smoke inhalation.
Oh my. Okay. Well, I want to share with those directors and condo and strata owners that might be watching this. It was a conversation we had some time ago. We were talking about inspections and all sorts of things related to fire life safety. And I always looked at fire life safety from a property manager's point of view. I've got to keep in compliance with regulation. It's all about mitigating risk. And I was looking at it through my business focus. And then you said to me one day, you said, we'll never know how many lives we've saved.
That's absolutely correct.
It's a powerful statement, powerful. And it really changed the way that I look at this. And any last thoughts you have?
Absolutely. I understand it can be inconvenient. We retrofitted a huge building. I was there regularly watching this process go through, and most of the people in the building were not a fan of mine because I was always making noise and going into units and interrupting, but they had a really large fire and they had to evacuate their 33-story building. And that was after we'd completed the retrofit, after the training, after the fire safety plan reviews. Everything worked, everything functioned. You have to realize the detection devices go off or you hear the alarm, your door has to close behind you. Your stairwell door has to close. You have to be able to clearly get out of every exit. Your staff has to know not only how to communicate and help you through that process, but also how to meet with the fire department and help them. Or if you don't have staff, can they find your fire safety plan? Is everything clearly marked and labeled? So I think the most important thing is we used to see some pretty catastrophic fires. We've gotten better. Unfortunately, during COVID and the things that have been going on, people working from home, we're up 10% in high rise and 33% in fire deaths overall in some regions of our country. We want to make sure that you really work on those maintenance. So get educated, and that could be you, your board, your staff, your residents. Communicate with things in writing so people know what to do and what you're doing to keep them safe, and get those regular inspections done. And the fire alarm test is not a fire code assessment. It's only looking at that 50% that has to do with like safety systems, sprinkler, fire alarm, that type of thing. So make sure you're taking care of your fire code too. And if you need help doing it, that's what your professionals are here for.
You shared with me one time a really good thought that I put into practice. In that fire safety box, when the fire department comes, and it is a true emergency, they're going to break into teams. And so you said to me that the fire safety schematics that are attached to the fire safety plan, make 3 or 4 copies. And then they can break into teams and they know what to do right away. Or the needs assistance list. If you've got a lot of them, make 4 or 5 copies of those. Because again, the fire department's going to break into teams, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then you have the information for all of them. And remember, they may not go to that fire safety plan right away. They're there to save lives. They're there to knock down that fire. And then they might have to look at what has to happen next.
Right.
But having it prepared, having it ready to hand out, it absolutely helps them to be ready. The more prepared you are, the faster they can respond. And in a fire, seconds count. It's about life safety.
Yeah, yes, of course. You really helped clear this up. And I hope that some of those boards out there, those directors, are listening to this. That budget line, I opened up by saying the budget line was too big. And Michele has shared with us that that budget line is probably too small. On behalf of the millions and millions of condo and strata residents across the country, not just here in Ontario, thanks for sharing today, and thanks for doing what you do every day, Michele.
Thank you very much, Murray.
So there you have it. The next time someone says to you that the fire safety budget line is too high and really is it that critical, it's not high enough, and it's more than that critical. Until next time, I'm Murray Johnson, and this has been your Condo Connection.